finally over. Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Ep.5 Sports signing in, and welcome back to Chicago Bears Weekly, Season 8, Episode 5. And the draft that all Bear fans have been anticipating, all Bear fans have been waiting on, is absolutely over. We have our answers to what we could potentially think the Bears' future could be. And in today's episode of Chicago Bears Weekly, we are going to go over the entirety of the Chicago Bears draft class, which was only 5 picks, but I'm adding a little bonus. What picks we would have had that we've traded away, I would grade what we did with those picks as well. So not only the picks that we used to the actual draft, I will also be giving my thoughts on the picks that we used to trade to gain other players or assets. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But without further ado, let's dive into it. Now we're going to start off with the first overall pick, which is Caleb Williams out of USC. And that answers the entire question that the Bears had this offseason. Was it going to be Fields? Was it going to be Williams? But I think that question was answered when the Bears traded Justin Fields. And I also have a video about that on my channel, as in what happened to Fields' career as a Bear. But let's get into Caleb Williams a little bit. He started off his career at Oklahoma, transferred when Lincoln Riley left to coach USC, and he became a 2-year starter at USC, winning the Heisman during the 2022 season. And he was probably one of the more highly talented prospects at the quarterback position that we've had probably since the Trevor Lawrence, probably since the Andrew Luck. One of those top tier quarterbacks. Now, one thing that I personally like about Caleb Williams is his ability to move and his ability to throw the football accurately on the run. He is one of the more accurate quarterbacks coming out of the draft in quite some time. He makes very good plays. He makes a lot of explosive plays, and he makes things happen out of nothing. Now, the only thing that has kind of been a hang-up within this whole Caleb Williams thing is his size. He's only sitting at 6'1", 214, but I've always been the one to say a lot of times when it comes to quarterback play, size doesn't matter, because we had 2 of the best quarterbacks that play the game be under 6 feet if we're talking about guys like Russell Wilson, and also, of course, a guy like Drew Brees, who is my personal favorite quarterback of all time. Now, one thing I will say about Caleb Williams is that he got a lot of comparisons to Patrick Mahomes, and I'm not even going to say rightfully so, even though I can understand where some people are coming from with his ability to do things on the move. I've always personally compared Caleb Williams this entire offseason to, I want to say, a little bit more of an accurate version of a Kyler Murray. Even though he's a little bit bigger than Kyler Murray, he has a little bit of a better arm than Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is more mobile as far as speed goes and moving things down the field. But Caleb Williams, I think he moves more to throw the football versus Kyler Murray moves more to actually run the football. But looking at this pick and looking at what could potentially be for the Chicago Bears going forward as a franchise, as a football team, I'm personally going to give this an A. I am going to refrain giving this an A+, because mainly, if you guys have watched over the last couple of weeks of my thoughts, I'm more going into this situation cautiously optimistic, as in, I like Caleb Williams. I like the things he could potentially bring. I like his personality. I like the fact that he is confident in himself. But my thing is, I want to see this on the football field in a Bears uniform before I sit here and tag an A+ to any type of quarterback. And also, when you think about what Caleb Williams is brought into, I think number one, he has the best situation for any number 1 overall quarterback. He has weapons like a guy like a DJ Moore, a guy like Keenan Allen. You have Kmet. You have Gerald Everett. You have a vastly improved offensive line with Ryan Bates, who we'll talk about later. You have a guy like Romar Odunze, who they also drafted, which I will get into that a little bit later. Then you add DeAndre Swift in the backfield. You add Roschon Johnson. You add Khalil Herbert. Then you add offensive coordinator Shane Waldron to the fold. I just think he has been set up the best out of any number 1 overall pick quarterback to succeed in year 1. And he has a ton of pressure on him to succeed in year 1 with all the things that this Bears organization has done to set him up for success. Will he live up into that pressure? That will remain to be seen over the next few months. But he has been set up the best. He has weapons around him. So it's almost like he has a no excuse policy for him to be successful. But my grade for this pick, we all knew it was going to happen the moment Justin Fields was let go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I'm going to give this grade an A. Now we're going to go to the Bears' second first-round pick, and that'll be Romar Odunze out of Washington with the 9th overall pick. Now, I think I like about Romar Odunze is his ability to go up and get the football. He is a very physical wide receiver. He makes difficult catches in traffic. He has very solid hands. And what makes him a good receiver as well is his ability to block. Now, I'm not going to get into the numbers. You guys know I'm really not a numbers guy. When you talk about the DVs, he has a very good jumping ability. He has a 4.47 40, so he's not a slow receiver. And he has a very good vertical at a 39-inch vertical. He has very good feet, very good eyes. Now, what I think he can be improved on, maybe a little bit, is his intermediate things, maybe a little bit, and his ability to run after the catch, I didn't see a ton of that, but with this Bears offense and the weapons they have, he may not be asked to do so. He's very good route runner. He's very good making the catches in high traffic. He comes down with the football. He makes explosive plays when he had 32 catches of 20 plus yards last year. So he's a big play receiver. He can go up. He can get those 50-50 balls, and he's going to get them a little bit more accurate with a guy like Caleb Williams. A lot of people have compared him to Drake London, which I can kind of see that a little bit, but I think with the impact that Romar Odunze will have in this Chicago Bears offense with Shane Waldron, and he doesn't have to face a bunch of double coverages because he has guys like Keenan Allen and DJ Moore that sit opposite of him, and a lot of weapons that this Bears offense has as his storage and has his usage. You can see him have a really good season. Now, I'm not going to sit here and put a numbers projection on him. I'm not going to say, oh, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. I don't care. As long as he makes an impact, he makes those contested catches that we saw at the University of Washington. He makes those 50-50 catches that we saw at the University of Washington, which I personally believe was a part of the reason why he was a highly touted receiver, because he can go up and get the football. He gets it down in traffic, and he's a very good red zone threat when you're talking about a guy who gets those 50-50 balls. It just makes this Bears offense just that much more explosive, and it makes this Bears offense just that much more potent and that much more of a threat when you have a three-headed monster wide receiver. I'm also going to give this grade an A because of the things that he can do. Today's video is brought to you by Cellular C4. This is a product that I personally used before I even decided to partner with them. And the first thing I got introduced to was the energy drinks by C4. This right here is a fruit punch flavor. They have many other flavors. They have popsicle flavors that just dropped. They have Skittles, Starburst, all the type of flavors that you want. To help you get started with your day, you can wake up in the morning before you start your day and drink you one of those. And also before you get that workout in, when it's workout day, you can take you some pre-workout to help you get the boost in your workout. All the products, 0 sugar, low calories. This is a great product to take you in your workouts and your journey on fitness to the next level. And I am happy to partner with a product that I was already using in my own personal life. And I will leave my code in the description below to save you guys 20% on your first purchase of C4 of their workouts. They even have muscle recovery to help boost after workouts. They have so many supplements and things to help you on your fitness journey. And you can get yours today
in the description below. Click the link and use my code APW Sports to help you save 20%. And again, the links are in the description below, and use the code APW Sports to save you 20% on your purchase. Now, it is time to get back into the video.
Next, we have the Bears' third-round pick, which was offensive tackle out of Yale, Kyra Amagaje. Now, I personally like this pick because, number one, he is a homegrown guy. He went to Hinsdale Central. He's a suburban Chicago guy, a guy who is a Bears fan, and what we take from guys claimed for their hometown teams, I think that makes a big of a difference when it comes to as far as them giving a little bit more effort, having a little bit more care, because they're growing up with a team that they root for, and now they are playing for that team. Now, he was a 3-year starter at Yale. He moved to left tackle his last 2 years at Yale. He dropped a little bit, and he was ranged between any team between the second and the fifth rounder. And he impressed scouts at the Senior Bowl. And with his ability, he can push for Braxton Jones for reps at that starting left tackle spot. Now, I personally am not going to sit here and say I'm the biggest fan of Braxton Jones, but I like what Braxton Jones can do. He has size. Amagaje has speed. From the athletic standpoint, with him being one of the more physical linemen in this draft at 6 feet 323, and he has a very good ability to move with an arm length for 36. So he's a solid prospect, a guy who can come in. He's a little bit of a project, which I'm honestly going to say I am tired of the Bears drinking projects at your line, but when you just invested the first round in the Darnell Wright last year, you have Braxton Jones, who have shown improvement every single year, but I think you can add depth by getting Amagaje, because Larry Bourne, the time that he has played, in my personal opinion, I don't think he's really shown much as far as development goes. So you get him in this offense, and from the pick for him, I'm going to give this a B. You give a guy like Amagaje that is going to bring you depth. You get a guy that can possibly compete to be the starting at your left tackle spot. Even though I personally do like Braxton Jones, I'm personally a guy who still think he needs to make some improvement as well. Even if he doesn't start, he gives depth whether some guy goes down. And I think he's a very good pass blocker. He's a solid run blocker. Even though he still needs some room for improvement, I just think the picking of Amagaje is a very solid pick for the Chicago Bears in the third round. I think the pick in the fourth round was a little bit of a head scratcher for me when you pick Tory Taylor, the punter out of Iowa. Now, I'm not saying that we didn't need a punter, because Trenton Gill was last in the NFL in punting, but when you're talking about the position of a punter, when you still needed an edge rusher, when you still could have maybe used some depth in your secondary, maybe you could still maybe use some depth in your offensive line, possibly in depth and possibly as your defensive interior of the defensive line. But I will say that Tory Taylor is a very good weapon. He averaged 48.2 yards per punt last season. He was the Ray Guide Award winner at the University of Iowa, which is the top punter in the game of college football. And it's not a secret to say we need an improvement in our punting game. Even though us as Bear fans hope the Bears won't be punting much, but it does help to have a guy who can get the ball inside of the 20, can get the ball with those corner coffin type of punts, to help set you up in a field position type of battle. If you're in a defensive type of battle, the punting game and the special teams game means a ton. It's on the surface, we say, yeah, punter, which I would personally say in my initial reaction to it. But when you think back into it, Bears need punt help. Trenton Gill was just, honestly, in my opinion, not really getting the job done. You get a guy who he has that Australian-style rugby-style punting, so he can do some different styles of punts, get the ball in possession at the 20, and then you're playing a field position game. He can be a big-time weapon for you. So I'm going to give this grade, personally, I'm going to give this a B. I don't like the position of it, to be honest, but when you talk about something that the Bears can need, something that the Bears can use down the line, something that the Bears can use in these close games where you really need that field position type of game, a weapon like Tory Taylor's leg can be a big help as far as winning and losing football games, because we've seen in the past where teams may not have had the greatest special teams and it can cost them a football game. And us as Bear fans with Devin Hester, we've seen special teams can win you football games, whether it's returning kicks, whether it's field position. So I do like this from the aspect of we get somebody who can contribute to the winning of the Bears. I just was a little bit head scratching on the draft positioning, but as far as team needs, I'm not mad at it. I'll give it a B. And the last pick that the Bears have in this draft, which they traded up back into the 5th round, was to select Austin Booker, an edge rusher from the University of Kansas in round 5, 144 overall. Now, that was something that I personally said the Bears needed to address at some point in this draft, was to get some edge rush help opposite of a guy like a Montez Sweat. Now, I've always like Montez Sweat, don't get me wrong, and I'll talk about him a little bit later. A guy like Booker can come in. He had 9 sacks in 2023 with 8 QB pressures, 12 tackles for loss, so he is a guy that can make an impact at your edge. Now, he's not in one of those, let's say a Dallas Turner, let's say Jared Verse type of names, which you necessarily don't always have to have, but he can pose a threat on the opposite side of a Montez Sweat, be a very good rotational type of a football player, and I think he could possibly have the potential to be one of the better pass rushers at some point in the league. Now, my thing is, can he get after the quarterback and can he make an impact? And Booker, he's still young at 21, so he still has some time to develop. He still has more growing to do. I think he really adds a big element to this Bears defensive line rotation with the Walker, with the Sweat, with Billings in the middle, with the guy like a Javon Dexter. I just think he adds more depth to that rotation, and he can come in and make an impact. He's one of those players where I think you can possibly have him as a big steal in the draft. So getting him late in the 5th round, addressing a need that you needed to address, which was getting some help opposite of Sweat, is a big thing here. And I'm also going to give this a B for the entirety of this pick. Now, the draft class itself, I'm going to give the entire draft class, I think it's going to be an A, because number one, you address positional need, you address the quarterback position where the potentially game-changing talent, you address wide receiver to get that third wide receiver outside of Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, you add to your offensive line and Amagaje, you get a punter who can potentially change the game of field position, and then you get Austin Booker late, where you could potentially have a solid standby rusher, a solid rusher outside of Montez Sweat. So I'm going to give this an A. I'm reserved getting it to A+ because we haven't seen it on the football field yet. But now going into the guys that the Bears actually traded the other picks for, and the aforementioned Montez Sweat was the potential 2nd round pick at 40 that the Bears traded to the Commanders for Montez Sweat. And for that, I'm giving that an A. I'm giving that an A+ because we've seen Montez Sweat on the football field just completely wreck games. He completely wrecked some games last year when he was in a Bears uniform. He was a tough matchup for blocking. He was a big-time pass rusher, and he did well in the running game. I'm giving this an A+. Now we go into our 4th round pick that we traded to the Chargers for Keenan Allen. I'm giving this an A, and I'm not giving it a plus because I haven't seen it on the football field, but the potential that Keenan Allen can have, which I also made a video about that, the entire trade, but him being in the Bears uniform and us losing out on only just a 4th round pick to get him, even though I think he probably would have gave up a little bit more if he wasn't in the last year of his deal. But Keenan Allen, that is also an A. The only thing I didn't like about it was his potential with injuries. He struggled with them to a bit in his career, but he had a career year last year. So I think adding him to this offense with DJ Moore and the aforementioned Romar Odunze, A. Now, we have our 5th round pick, 144th overall, traded into the Buffalo Bills for Ryan Bates. I'm going to give this a B. Ryan Bates has experience in this league. He's been tough. He's a very physical in the interior of your offensive line. He's the center, in which a position that the Bears really needed to address at some point in this offseason, especially after getting rid of Cody Whitehair, who has struggled for his own right. So he brings depth along with Coleman Shelton. So I think even with trading on Ryan Bates, I give that a B. And our 6th round pick, 184th overall, was to the Miami Dolphins for Dan Feeney, and that necessarily just did not work out. So I'm going to give that a C-. Now we have our 7th round pick, which we traded in 2022 to the New England Patriots for N'Keal Harry, and we all know that did not work out. N'Keal Harry dealt with injuries, and he really lacked as a weapon that we could have used in 2022. He had a couple of solid catches, but he only had 7 catches for 116 and a touchdown the entire year. So for that, I am also going to give that a C. It was a low-risk, high-reward type of a deal that we made with the New England Patriots, so I'm going to give that a C. So this entire draft class and the things that we did with the picks that could have been in our draft class, I'm going to give this an A. And you guys leave your thoughts about the entirety of this Chicago Bears draft class in the comments down below. But that is all I have. Make sure you guys stay safe. Have a great next day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.